Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the SLDC Board of Directors regular scheduled board meeting held via Zoom on September 21st, 2023 at officially 8:01 a.m. Can I please have a roll call to start the meeting?
Sure. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Director Gilbert.
Here.
Director McBride.
Here.
Director Sean Spencer.
Present.
Director Reed.
Here.
Director Arnold.
He is on the call. He's having some audio difficulties.
Okay.
Here, can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Oh, thank you.
And Chair Richardson.
Present. With that, we have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 17th, 2023 regular scheduled board meeting that was held via Zoom. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move
McBride.
Gilbert. Second McBride.
Either one.
I think someone else on a Pepsi. Jinx. So we have a motion by Gilbert and a second by McBride for the record. And we also want to acknowledge that Alderwoman Kara Spencer is here as well. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Kara Spencer.
Aye.
Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer.
Aye.
Director Reed.
Aye.
Director Arnold.
Aye.
And Chair Richardson.
Aye. With that, the motion passes to approve the minutes from the August 17th, 2023 board meeting. The first resolution we have before us today is resolution number 23, SLDC 905, adopting procurement policy for acquisition of architect, engineering, and surveyor professional services on behalf of SLDC. We have our Senior Vice President of Real Estate Development, Mr. Rob Orr. Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and directors. Resolution 23 SLDC-905 authorizes the procurement services for architecture, engineering, and surveying services for SLDC. And it is anticipated that the constituent agencies such as LCRA, LRA, and the Port Authority will also adopt these policies at its own discretion. We have had a policy in place for about a year and a half for non-architectural engineering and survey services, but this one formally adopts the procurement of those types of services, which we do use from time to time. The policy is attached to your agenda. I'm not going to walk you through all of it, but certainly happy to answer any questions. Essentially, the guiding regulations for procurement of those types of services is frequently dictated by the funding source. So if the monies come from USDOT, HUD, or one of the other many federal agencies that we receive funding from, we always follow their guidelines. Their guidelines usually say follow your own policy or our policy, whichever is stricter. And so there's always the delicate understanding of what the procurement policies are. So we always follow the grant source or the funding source first. And where there is none specifically called out, that's what this policy will deal with. So federal law and state laws that have been adopted since then basically require a qualification-based selection process. This is basically essentially to keep the lowest engineer from always winning a contract when the lowest engineering bid may not be the best engineering firm to provide those design services. So this policy allows for the creation of a pre-qualified list, which helps streamline those procurement policies. essentially, a board will convene or a committee will convene to review those responses that are received from firms wanting to be on that pre-qualified list. And then we'll make a recommendation to this board or to the respective board that is establishing that short list as to which firms should be on that list. That allows us, in cases where timing is of the essence, and we've experienced this on occasion with parking facilities and other types of structures that LCRA and other agencies have been engaged with. And so that helps us streamline the process of getting someone on board to quickly provide those types of services that we need. In other cases, due to the size of the project or the expected cost of those services, we will go out for a direct solicitation for that specific project and will not use our pre-qualified list. And this is typically what we've done on some of our major street projects that are currently underway in and around the NGA and the MLS Stadium. These services were procured by individual selection processes. So with that, I covered kind of the highlights of what this policy is anticipated to address, and I welcome any questions.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Any questions from the directors in regards to this resolution? And hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 905.
So move, Gilbert.
No,
Second, McBride.
Second, McBride. Roll call vote, please.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Kara Spencer.
Aye.
Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer.
Aye.
Director Reed. Director Arnold.
Aye.
And Chair Richardson.
Aye. With that, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 905. The next item on the agenda today is resolution number 23 SLDC 906, authorizing a grant to Northside Community Housing to pursue National Register District nominations in the Ville and the Greater Ville neighborhoods. With that, I'll pass it over to the Senior Vice President of Strategic Growth, Mr. Lance Knuckles.
Thank you, Director Richardson, and good morning, directors. It's always a pleasure to engage with you. This morning, again, I have the privilege of presenting to you resolution number 23 SLDC-906, which is authorizing grant to Northside Community Housing Incorporated to pursue National Register District nomination in the Ville and Greater Ville neighborhoods. Before I dive into the resolution, I think it'd be really important to share some context around the alignment of this resolution and more specifically with the work that is underway at SLDC. As you all know, within our Economic Justice Action Plan, we have defined supporting neighborhoods seeking to create historic districts as a tool, not only to allow preservation of parcels, but also to attract additional financing opportunities that may come through and make themselves available, leveraging historic tax credit, historic designation. And so this project that we're bringing in front of you to garner your support is really thoughtfully considered in a way that aligns not only one with our Economic Justice Action Plan and one of our strategic demonstration areas, but also this project is in alignment with other funds that we're leveraging from the American Rescue Plan Act resources. That specifically being $4.5 million in LRA commercial stabilization, whereas this project will be including the Sarah Lou Cafe historic project that has actually moved underway, and the structural engineering assessment has already been brought back to this body in previous meetings. And so our opportunity to really support this effort for this region to move forward is thoughtfully being considered as one that is coming to us from a community-driven perspective, and that SLDC has the opportunity to follow and provide that support. And so with that, this resolution is seeking your support to authorize and approve funding of consultant to support Northside Community Housing project to obtain National Register District designation for community identified blocks within the Ville and Greater Ville neighborhoods. The purpose within this, the City of St. Louis and St. Louis demonstration areas as identified in the St. Louis Corporation's Economic Justice Action Plan. The funding will provide the necessary form will provide in the form of a $30,000 grant to Northside Community Housing to secure the necessary consultant services to research, organize, and submit a successful application for the National Registry Historic District designation within the Ville and Greater Ville. Northside Community Housing has been a strong partner, not only with SLDC, providing thoughtful housing support, but has also been recognized, that you'll see in the resolution, on several different occasions for the activism and work to support the redevelopment of the Ville and Greater Ville neighborhoods. And so I will pause to ask any questions from the body, but we also have representatives from Northside Community Housing who can offer a little more detailed perspective that is so deemed necessary. So I'll yield the floor for any questions about this resolution.
Director Spencer, Sean Spencer.
Comment first, I am so excited that SLDC is being proactive about helping not-for-profits in historic areas get this designation, because we all know those credits are incredibly important to be able to find loans and to be able to finance historic renovations. So I really applaud the effort here. Also, another part of this whole puzzle is the board bill HB 316, I believe, from the state. That's going to allow not-for-profits to become eligible for those tax credits as well. And these not-for-profits are typically the first ones in the neighborhood to help build up to an inflection point of additional investments. So I want to make sure SLDC advocates for that as much as they can, and maybe just tracks that bill, because it's really important for the city.
For sure, Director Spencer. I know you and I talked about that on some different occasions around the importance for nonprofits to be able to take advantage of those tax credit programs as they look to redevelop their areas and neighborhoods through CDCs and other neighborhood organizations. I would like to recognize Alderwoman Shameen Clark-Hubbard's hand. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning again, everyone. I share in the excitement with Commissioner Spencer, and if nobody was going to ask any questions, I think we would be remiss if we didn't hear from Mr. Burns. Now, you got to know that I'm a little biased because the Ville area is my home. I was born and raised in the Ville area, St. Ferdinand. So I love all the work I witnessed, and always supported all the work that's already been going on the ground over there. And I love the direction that SLDC is taking, again, proactively with this. So I didn't know if anybody was going to have anything, but if not, I definitely would like to hear from Mr. Burns. Because there might be somebody watching, or might be somebody in the meeting that's not familiar with all the great things that are going on in the Ville area.
So, Mr. Burns, would you like to say a couple words about the importance of this program? I know you're in the car, you working, getting people off to school and working in the neighborhood. But if you have any comments about the importance of this program and historic tax credit designation for the Ville and Greater Ville neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson and Alderwoman Hubbard. Appreciate this opportunity, and hello to all of your board members. Yes, I'm doing daddy duty right now, making sure my daughter makes it to school on time. But what I want to talk about just really briefly is that this project is something we've been working on for quite a while. It's actually covering, and I don't know if the screenshot is available, but the area that we're covering in North St. Louis is St. Louis Avenue on the north, Sarah on the east, Kennerly on the south, and Lambden on the west. This group of properties, it's about 220 properties and parcels of land in these spaces. And we're opening up the opportunities so that we can seek historic tax credits from SHPO, the state agency. Thank you very much. Also, I do have Andrew Weil from Landmarks that's also on the call, and he can probably give a few quick details about what this process entails.
Mr. Andrew Wow, can you please move forward? You're present.
Yes, I'm present. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so Landmarks Association has been creating National Register historic districts in St. Louis since the 1970s. We've created we're a nonprofit organization, historic preservation advocacy organization, for those of you who are not familiar. But we have a lot of experience with creating these districts. And we've, in conjunction with Northside and with Rise and with Laura Hughes, we've been working for more than a year now on identifying an area of the Ville that had sufficient integrity, where demolition hadn't sort of depleted the streetscapes. And this is the area that we identified, and representatives of the group that's been working on this have met with the Missouri State Historic Preservation Office on site. And I guess the short version is that we have a very high level of confidence that this area will be listed in the National Register of Historic Places, and thus become eligible for redevelopment tax credits. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Wild. I would like to recognize Alderwoman Kara Spencer's hand.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a question specifically for Andrew, but I just wanted to offer a couple of questions just to help kind of clarify. I know I got a couple of inquiries from the public yesterday. And so there were some concerns about maybe negative impacts on the community. But I wanted to maybe offer an opportunity to kind of speak to community engagement, and as well, it's my understanding that the National Historic District overlay provides a path, perhaps I think the only path to be able to apply for those state historic credits, but it does not include any local historic district regulations. My apologies, there's a bus going by if you can hear that. So it wouldn't necessarily make any requirements. It just provides a path for the development of properties through state and federal historic tax credits. And if we could make that explanation, I think it would be helpful. I'm really grateful to see the map of this area, if that could be shared as well. I know that the north side of St. Louis has been disproportionately overlaid with these historic district tools that allow for taxing incentives on the state and national level to be applied. And so I think looking at a citywide map would be helpful as we try to kind of rebalance some of that.
Sure. So Alderwoman Spencer, I just want to make sure I understand the question. Was it regarding the potential negative impacts it would have on residents, or the challenges with pursuing local historic tax credits?
So I think the question would be, do we foresee any negative impacts as the community, and if somebody could speak to some community involvement? I also am looking for some clarification. I believe I did clarify it, but just a validation here that what we're looking at is providing a tool that, the national overlay, the historic district overlay doesn't, it's my understanding, but I'd like confirmation here, add any burdens to the existing or future homeowners to do anything specific like a local historic district would. That it's a tool to be able to apply for and receive some of those state and federal tax incentive programs to make some of the financials work when these really onerous rehabs cost a lot of money and don't often kind of align with what it costs to do that. So I just wanted to kind of speak to that so that we can address any concerns that some of the board of directors, I know I received a few phone calls, so I just wanted to kind of address that.
Alderwoman Hubbard, I see your hand, but Mr. Wild, do you want to respond first to the?
I really do.
Yeah.
And thank you. I've been the director of Landmarks Association for 16 years. I taught at WashU Graduate Architecture Program, Historic Preservation, for a decade. This is a very common misperception that a National Register Historic District gives the federal government any kind of control over your property. It does not. unless you're trying to take advantage of the historic tax credits, then you have to adhere to certain principles. But if you're not trying to use the tax credit program, then there's no federal oversight on what you can and can't do with your property. Currently, in the Ville, there is a local historic district overlay, and those are created by the Board of Aldermen. Those are ordinance-based overlays, and those actually can tell you, you can't put in this kind of window, or you can't paint your house pink, or whatever it is. And those are supposed to be reviewed every few years and revised. But the irony is that there is already a local ordinance that restricts property, the administration of properties in the Ville. The National Register District is only really it's only a carrot. It right now you've got only stick, and the National Register would provide a carrot in terms of those tax credits, which are not currently available for most properties in the Ville. However, the disposition of the individual homeowner's property is regulated by the Ville Local Historic District. So this really would add absolutely no problems for property owners. It would only enable tax credits to become available for people that wanted to fix up their properties. And incidentally, and I'll shut up, but the state historic tax credit is available for individual homeowners to use on their own properties. So it's not just about developers. It's available to people, and you can borrow against them, which is a nice thing. And they're fungible in the fact that they're transferable tax credits that when they're issued to homeowners that might not have a lot of tax liability, they can sell them for 92 cents on the dollar. I'm sure Commissioner Sean Spencer, Ed Kara can probably speak to that. But anyway, I've said my piece. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you, Andrew. I didn't appreciate there was a local district, so I appreciate you pointing that out, but just wanted to clarify that there's no negative impacts of a national designation.
No, definitely. And I would like to recognize Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
If I may, I'd just like to add that we have had several town hall meetings as well as neighborhood meetings. We place flyers in the doors of all of those addresses that are located in this particular catchment area. And there's also ongoing plans to do social media campaigns and more direct contact with the actual owners of those properties. So that's been ongoing since the very beginning. We've been helped by Washington University students, their Sam Fox School of Architecture. They've also participated in going out with us to make sure residents are well aware of what's taking place.
Thank you for that, Mr. Burns. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Thank you again. That's exactly what I was going to speak to, and I didn't know if Mr. Burns was going to be able to, but I wanted to speak to it from my perspective and from the lens that I've witnessed, not nothing I've read about, not nothing I've heard about, but something I've seen myself. And that's the community engagement piece that Mr. Burns, his organization, the very strong advocacy over there from Friends of the Ville and the different organizations that have been on the ground there for decades. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my colleague can speak to this, Alderwoman Spencer, that before his passing, Alderman Sam Moore specifically had names that he named on the floor of the people that have been doing the work and we're going to continue the work to carry out the vision of the Ville, the people that have stayed there for so long and stayed in the fight. And Mr. Andrew named one of her names that I think I want to call again, that's Ms. Hughes, and the work that she has been doing over there. I mean, these are people that have been on the ground, and I, again, am encouraged that SLDC, even in different directions, have not putting that to the wayside and have not acknowledged and recognized that, but have chosen to work alongside with them and continue to uplift them, which is the difference between when somebody comes in and does what I say all the time, something to a neighborhood instead of with the neighborhood. So I commend the community engagement that Mr. Burns and his group and the other groups have done, and Ms. Hughes. And I also recognize the concerns that my colleague has, because I fight some of those concerns over here on the West End with people with seniors or families that are told what they can and can't do to their homes and how they want to just stay in place in their homes. And so I understand the concerns, and that's, I think, where we're in place to fight. And then I heard maybe redirect and relook at those directions rather that are given the things that they can and can't do. But I also see over here, and I won't name his name, but I'm sure a lot of us know the developers and the entities that are doing work over here that take advantage of that tax credit program, and the difference it makes in not only the work they're able to do, but the finished product and how they're able to work on even more and build up even more homes. And over here in these historically preserved, beautiful homes, keeping the integrity of them, but then working with the neighborhoods to keep the integrity also of the demographics of the neighborhood. So that's what I wanted to speak to. I know Mr. Burns got on, but I definitely wanted to again, I definitely wanted to call out those names that here. I'm sure Alderman Moore is smiling down that those names are still carrying on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the Ville and the Greater Ville neighborhoods they have a historical legacy that vibrates outside of just the city of St. Louis, but across the country. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 906.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Kara Spencer.
Aye.
Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer.
Aye.
Director Reed.
Aye.
Director Arnold.
Aye.
And Chair Richardson.
Aye. With all ayes voting, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 906. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 907, authorizing and approving a contract with Xero Holdings LLC for the design and implementation of a flexible, modern, integrated intranet system to provide enhanced internal communications. Then I'll pass it over to our Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Initiatives, Mr. Stephen Davis.
Thank you, Chairman Richardson, and good morning, directors. Quick intro here. This resolution authorizes St. Louis Development Corporation to enter into a contract with Xero Holdings LLC to provide an intranet system for the use of SLDC employees. And with that, I will turn it over to Jonathan Levy with Levy Consulting to provide background.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, Board of Directors. As Mr. Davis pointed out, the intranet was a project that was brought to us by Chairman Richardson, as identified as the first step towards the creation of a digital-first culture here at SLDC. The intranet itself is an enhanced tool for internal communications, HR matters, people operations, as well as file sharing and other wonderful uses. I've prepared a series of slides with some information from the Xero company itself, who is our third-party company we've identified, as well as some screenshots from a demonstration that they put together for us. I'm going to share my screen now so you can start seeing some of that, and I'll give you some additional context. So briefly, before I really dive into it, as I mentioned, this was brought to us by Mr. Richardson as a key step towards bringing SLDC into the modern age as a digital-first agency. The intranet itself is a key tool in that it enhances the internal communications within SLDC, as well as provides key tools for the human resources team in terms of people operations. We started this process by looking at some of our current vendors, including Summit, who's working on this Salesforce project, and Candid, who's working on our website, both of which were capable of this project, but were not capable of producing this project in the timeline that Mr. Richardson had identified. And so therefore we started looking at third-party options for this solution. Myself, my team, as well as the Senior Vice President of Human Resources, began investigating various third-party solutions for this, and we've identified 4 or 5 that were pretty solid, that hit a lot of the key points, and then did in-depth demonstrations and walkthroughs with the teams from each of those services. Ultimately, we arrived at Xero being one of the best for multiple reasons, which I will go into throughout this slide. But just to give you an overview, this software will provide internal communications tools, a central knowledge management system, which will tap into all of SLDC's current file sharing and management systems, will allow employees to directly engage and collaborate, as well as support remote work, field work, and just generally be a tool for workplace culture development. As I mentioned before, Xero integrates with software that SLDC is already using, including a full range of Google and Microsoft products. I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like, but it also does integrate with Salesforce. Essentially, it'll be like an RSS feed, so we could put key bits from the developer portal and other aspects that are relevant to the internal staff to be visible within this platform. Before I get into more slides, just to give you an idea of what the service that we will be provided with from Xero, Xero not only will develop and host this platform for us, they will work hand in hand with us to get us onboarded, developed, and implemented. We have already gone through an initial project of setting up a scope and getting sort of a general plan in place, and then once we have hopefully approved this contract, we will move forward with one-on-one time with their team to develop the more granular details of this project as we go forward, and ultimately launch this ideally before the end of the year. They said usually 8 to 10 weeks on a turnaround time before it's live for staff. I want to just start with the layout. So this is an example of both the desktop layout as you're logging in as a staff user, and as well the mobile layout. This is available both on a mobile app and a desktop. As you can see immediately, this looks very similar to a news site or a social media site. It's kind of modeled off of a Facebook. Every aspect of this, however, is customizable by the administrators. So you can show key articles, key documents, relevant events, whatever it is that we find important for employees to access and to engage with, we can identify and pin to their start page. Once you actually get into it, you can go, and here's an example of the employee personal page. This will have everything that's related to this employee on here, tasks, their calendar, wherever they're integrated into the organization, notifications. It's kind of got an activity stream feel similar to a Facebook profile feed. And it, on the personal employee page, it really does highlight employee engagement. You'll see right here, there's an example of an engagement badge that was given as a reward. Again, this is all just made up for the presentation, but additionally, you'll see right here, required reading. I'll get into that in a little bit. That's a really important tool that the Human Resources team will take advantage of, where they can send important documents such as an update to a policy or enrollment in healthcare. They can not only give it to the employees, but they can require them to read it. They can keep it visible on their profile to remind them, and they can track how many people have engaged with each part of whatever it is required. Additionally, this will also be a source, as I said, for data and file sharing, as well as knowledge sharing. So this is an example of what an employee handbook will look like, and we're anticipating moving both our employee handbook as well as the operations handbook, which is an ongoing project, into the Xero platform. So it's an interactive and highly modular wiki document, so similar to like Wikipedia. You can see in here that it'll have each of these subcategories within an employee handbook. You can click on them. It'll link directly to the existing articles or documents, and employees can access them as necessary. Briefly again about the employee engagement aspect. This is an example of what the recognitions page will look like. Every aspect of this is customizable. So you can incentivize having employees take a 15-minute coffee break with another employee. You can incentivize scheduling meetings with your supervisor regularly. You can incentivize attending after work events. And it can just be a badge. You can have actual rewards attached to it, but essentially it's a tool to really highlight and bring forward employee engagement and centralize that for everybody. It also has a robust calendar integration. This integrates with our existing calendars, so we don't have to duplicate work. There is functionality for a overall SLDC event calendar that can be populated on each individual's calendar, as well as key human resources calendars and others as necessary. But it essentially functions as a familiar calendar, such as a Google or a Microsoft product. One of the key functions of this, aside from just sharing files and employee communications, is that there are sub-sites within the intranet system. So almost like a website itself within the overall intranet. This is an example of such. It is considered, they're called spaces. This is the human resource space. So as the human resource administrator logs in, this is where everything related to that department will live. Everything from key files like the employee handbook, activity, the people that are part of this, calendar, blogs, articles, everything. It's a central hub for all of those documents. Additionally, when you look at files, this is kind of an overview of what, say, the senior vice president of human resources would be able to see. Every single file that HR needs to keep track of. And additionally, in addition to things that are natively created on here, all of our existing files can be directly uploaded and linked with very little effort, which allows for a much more streamlined integration. I spoke earlier about the required reading and what that engagement will look like. This is an example of an engagement page for an open enrollment document that was sent out. It was a required document that everybody had to read. It is tracked in terms of views, the amount of viewers, the overall sentiment, which can be rated, how many people have confirmed that they have read it, or what percentage, and any comments and likes. And then on a more granular level, it'll show you the individual data on which users have participated, which have signed off. It allows for a much easier tracking and accountability when it comes to key documents and announcements and so on. This is an example of the native document creation within Xero. It is very similar to a Google or a Microsoft product. Functions exactly in the same way, but you can see that you also create it similar to like a news article on a social platform where you have headlines, summaries, an image, and then the actual text. Everything that is put in here, including documents that are uploaded. This is an example of a PDF that are linked. Everything that is put in here is text searchable. They have there's a dynamic search bar built into Xero, which will filter your searches based on your user permissions, the relevancy, and allow you to actually search the text within any document, regardless of whether the original text was itself text searchable, which is going to be a very, very important resource. And then finally, just an overview of what the project investment will look like. The first year, it'll be $24,000 for the year. There is $7,000 discount actually baked in. Over the course of the first 3 years, we will scale back up to that $31,000 per year mark. So in year 4, we would get close to that unless we are able to renegotiate. And there's also an additional $4,000 one-time implementation fee, which will pay for the time of Xero's team as they design, implement, and set up this resource for SLDC. There is a lot more, of course, but I didn't want to overload you all. So I have left some time and some space for any questions that you may have regarding the process, the actual software itself, or any other aspects of this project.
No, thank you so much, Jonathan, for that presentation. And as I've stated before, now SLDC is almost at 100 employees. As we continue to grow and scale, we have a litany of activities, programs, events that we're partaking in, and initiatives that we have underway. So communicating effectively across all of our business lines and business divisions within SLDC is critically important, but also ensuring that all of our employees have the latest information as it relates to human resources, such as the operations handbook, the employee handbook, and that will continue to be updated ongoing. So any questions? Director McBride.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that this internal intranet will seamlessly work with our outward facing tools like Salesforce.
Yes, it will. And Jonathan, do you want to speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. Yes, it will. What it doesn't offer is a platform for data input into Salesforce directly, unfortunately, but it does allow for employees to see key data regarding their roles, whether it's incentives data or data on the statistics from the developer portal, anything of that nature. It can be displayed more as an RSS feed, not necessarily as a direct portal to then edit and input data within Salesforce. But in terms of viewing and accessing data, it does work seamlessly.
And then with regard to how many seats or terminals or whatever the terminology would be, does that $24,000 a year get SLDC?
Sure. It supplies up to 200 users, which is their minimum amount. That amount can be one of the key things that we really liked about it is that amount can be lent out to different departments as necessary, and each user can be adjusted at a very granular level in terms of permissions and access. So you can even create, say, a more public-facing version of the portal that allows for quick access but has very limited scope, whereas you could also put in an administrator at the same time, and it really is pretty seamless back and forth, but up to 200.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you. I apologize. Monique, you are an SLDC employee. Is that correct?
My name is Jonathan. I'm actually just signed in under Monique at the time. I am a consultant working with SLDC, and I have been doing this project in conjunction with the Senior Vice President of Human Resources.
Okay, so you're acting on behalf of SLDC. I was just curious if this, it sounds like you went out and found this company. Did we issue an RFP, or how was this procured in a way that the public could participate in it?
We did not issue an RFP. My understanding was that was not going to be strictly necessary with this, and I'm sure David can speak to that a little bit more on the legal side of it, but there was a robust investigation process into multiple other software solutions.
David, do you want to speak to the rationale for the RFP not being issued for this procurement?
The SLDC is a private corporation, does not have a particular RFP requirement for services other than professional services. So given the cost dollar amount that's involved here, because we're talking in the 20s per year, I was not involved, but I understand that the perception was that this is not the type of dollar amount that would be warranted spending something out for an RFP or RFP.
So Jonathan, do you want to speak to some of the other entities that responded to your request as it relates to this software and how the determination was made on the vendor that was selected?
Absolutely. So we went through, as I mentioned before, we first met with some of our existing vendors, including Summit, who's working on our Salesforce project, and Candid, who's working on the SLDC website, both of which had some capability to address this project, but we're not really aligned in terms of the timeline due to existing deliverables, nor really with the full scope of what we identified to be the need for the SLDC intranet. So therefore, in alignment with Chairman Richardson's desire to make this a priority, we started investigating, including myself and the Senior Vice President of Human Resources, began investigating third-party intranet solutions, of which there are numerous options. So we were able to narrow down the field to really 7 options, including Xero, as demonstrated, Simpler, which is very similar, built on Salesforce, but was actually less easy to use, so less manageable, especially considering the amount of employees that would have to be trained on its use. ClickUp, which we ultimately determined was much more project management focused and less internal communications, and as well as Monday, SharePoint, and some of the key elements that we were looking for as we went through are the ability to make company-wide announcements, surveys, required readings and signatures on documents, dynamic and searchable documents, as well as dynamically searchable handbooks, integrations with our current systems, including Google, SharePoint, Salesforce, and anything else of that nature. We were looking for systems that allowed for granular permissions for controls for all users, file sharing, chat communications, bulletin, blog, and announcement functionality, and most importantly, I would say, is a familiar interface that can be easily implemented across a wide range of technological proficiencies. With those in mind, we were able to narrow the field down after doing some demonstrations with the above mentioned parties to two, which were Xero and Simpler. From that point, we went through a series of live demonstrations and conversations with representatives from the team at both Xero and Simpler that involved myself and the Senior Vice President of Human Resources and the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and other members of the Levy Consulting team. We went through a couple comprehensive demonstrations and identified that Xero was a little bit more robust, comprehensive, and most importantly, user-friendly solution that didn't break the budget the same way that some of the other projects would have. And then at that point, we brought on the Chief Technology Officer, Simon, to evaluate this from a enterprise risk management standpoint, and brought these demonstrations to Mr. Richardson and continue the process from there. We've been in talks back and forth regarding legal compliance and all sorts of other technical aspects that are really my personal field. And we have done a lot of research and demonstrations that got us to this point.
Any additional questions, Alderwoman Spencer?
I don't have any additional questions. I mean, I just, you know, I know that, yeah, there may not be legal requirements, but of course we are talking about a public entity that's dealing with what otherwise would be tax dollars. So, you know, I think it's helpful to kind of go through these things. You know, I'm assuming we've gone through all that there's security provisions and other things. I mean, hosting all these really sensitive documents and that sort of thing. I mean, the attached documents didn't seem very technical in nature with regards to the intranet. So if there could be any follow-up on some of those security protocols, it would be helpful.
This has been fully vetted by the Chief Technology Officer, Simon Wong, and Simon provides support for SLDC as well as the city. And so he vetted all of their security protocols and ensured that there's policies and procedures in place to protect the documentation and the data that's held on those systems.
Okay, thank you. You know, those things are top of mind, especially considering some of the breaches recently in the St. Louis region. So
definitely understand. Director Spencer.
Oh,
other Spencer.
Sorry, Sean Spencer, yes.
Being on the board for a few years, I know scheduling meetings with different departments and trying to figure out, you know, what the best time to get together has been pretty complicated. Do you see this system helping with calendar management, and how does that work with people that are like myself that, you know, participate at SLDC and our boards, but aren't actually employees? And then the second part of that question is, do you see this software helping with any coordination between departments that are outside of SLDC, like CDA or other departments with the city of St. Louis? Project coordination and communication is, I think, the biggest opportunity for building efficiency in our projects and our communication. So I just want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure, Director Spencer. This will ultimately help us provide a centralized calendar for all of SLDC events, activities, programs, and being able to communicate that effectively to the public, as well as working more closely together internally on initiatives and partnerships, whether it's, you know, various programs internally, but also working outside with community members too. So this allows SLDC, with our neighborhood managers, for example, to have an understanding of all of the various events that's going on, but also the different programs and initiatives, the resolutions that we approve, for them to have access to that information more seamlessly. I think one of the challenges that you may have experienced, Director Spencer, is how SLDC is getting more real-time information across the organization. Because if I have a conversation with a partner or we approve a new program, you know, again, as we continue to grow, I want to ensure from our senior vice president level all the way down to our individual contributors, they have the same information. In addition to that, as we have new employees being onboarded, we have updates to our handbook, updates to our procurement policy, and we want to be able to hold ourselves accountable for reviewing that information. So as decisions are being made, procurement is being made, we ensure that everyone follows that same policy and it's the latest policy. And so that's will be uploaded into that intranet for everyone to have the same information at the same time.
Thank you.
Great. With that, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 907.
So moved, Spencer.
Second, Gilbert.
You have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Carrie Spencer,
Present.
Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer,
Aye.
Director Reed, Director Arnold,
Aye.
and Chair Richardson.
Aye. That the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 907. The first item on the open agenda for today is the announcement of the mayor's business luncheon that's being held on Friday, October 13th, 2023, at the Majestic Ballroom at the Marriott St. Louis Grand Hotel on Washington Avenue. So I'm really excited about this year's theme of the mayor's business luncheon, United We Thrive. Really looking forward to announcing some of the new programs and initiatives that we've approved at the board of directors for SLDC, as well as celebrating the success that we have thus far. This program has been centered around celebrating the business community. And I'm really excited about announcing again all of the great work we've done to support small businesses to our large-scale development projects across the city of St. Louis, and in partnership with others like the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, with GSL and other economic development partners across the state and the region. So with that, I'll move to the next item on the open agenda today, and it's our Positively St. Louis segment of the week. So Sarah, I'll pass it over to you to bring the video up. Sarah, you there?
I am. Sorry, I'm having a hard time getting it to share with sound. Let me try this.
The Northside Economic Empowerment Center is reinvesting in St. Louis City, creating new opportunities for families and entrepreneurs. It's building generational wealth while priming neighborhoods for equitable growth for decades to come. Fox's Kelly Hoskins has more on how the center is bringing resources directly to the neighborhoods on this month's Positively St. Louis.
$1.5 million in American Rescue Act plan funds are being dedicated to the growth of the Northside Economic Empowerment Center. And the goal is to empower residents who may lack the resources while collaborating with community anchors in new and innovative ways. The Northside Economic Empowerment Center is located in the heart of North St. Louis. The NEEC is housed at Sumner High School Annex and is working to connect small businesses with resources like certification, back office support, and training. This NEC falls up under the economic empowerment pillar. And so we're about improving the economic ability of the community. And that's dealing with jobs, that's dealing with workforce, that's with them going to school and improving their skills. So we want to make sure that we are being intentional about working with the individuals that come here to understand these are all the different services that are available for them to access to do that. We need our St. Louisans to thrive. And this is their one-stop shop to come in and start getting that information and doing it. I'm really excited. The St. Louis Development Corporation President and CEO Neil Richardson says the NEEC will help to reinvest in the area while supporting business owners at the same time. Many businesses that are starting in the city of St. Louis every day. The Wall Street Journal calls St. Louis the top city for Black women entrepreneurs. And if we're going to continue to win in that space, we want those businesses not to just start. We want them to be successful. We want them to be sustained, where they can employ our residents, they can contribute to our overall ecosystem. The NEEC has a planning room for contractors, training and workshops, classrooms, a digital lab, and a technical assistance hub supporting the growth and development for all St. Louis small businesses. That's part of our mission. We have engaged, empower, and then execute. And we help people legitimize their business. When we say legitimize their businesses, what we have found is that a lot of businesses have been running, but they're not registered at the city level. They don't have an EIN number, which is their employment identification number. They don't have a business license. Their businesses are not registered with the Secretary of State. They don't have a marketing strategist. They don't have a business plan. They don't know anything about a profit and loss statement. They don't have the necessary tools they need, such as tax advising, a bookkeeper, legal services, exit strategy. The great thing about the entrepreneurial tracks that we offer, I want to start a business. I get out to facilitate that. We want people to understand, yes, we are here for the business, but we're here for the community. The business part is our focus. So when people come in, that's what we're doing. But we have people come in and ask us all kind of stuff. And if we don't know, we're just going to pick up the phone and find the right information and give it to them, because that's what makes community work. What's amazing about my job is that I get to literally sit down face to face with these individuals. Some are younger, but most of our people are middle age and older. And they want to know, what are you going to do different than other programs that was in our community? Why should we trust you? Why should we come to the Northside Economic Empowerment Center? How long are you going to be here? And I get to say, we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. The center takes pride in creating new opportunities for families and entrepreneurs across the city of St. Louis, building generational wealth while priming neighborhoods for equitable growth for decades to come. They need to know there's a place for them to go, and people are going to treat them like they're human beings and be intentional about giving them the correct information to change their life and the lives of their families. Maryville University is also providing some curriculum for individuals that come through the program. We're really excited about our partnership with Maryville because, sometimes you have to buy curriculum like off the shelf. Well, the wonderful thing about Maryville is that the curriculum that they're providing is really based off of their own internal research and them actually talking with businesses in this community to understand where the gaps and the holes are. The NEEC is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and supported 600 businesses since it opened in January. And this is what positively St. Louis looks like. Kelly Hoskins, Fox 2 News.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And again, I just want to make sure that the board of directors know that we are working very diligently at SLDC to ensure that we are raising awareness of the various programs and initiatives that we have undertaken. And the Northside Economic Empowerment Center has made a critical impact already to date, serving almost 2,000 individuals and residents and over 800 businesses from across the city and even across the region. And so we've made sure that we've raised more awareness about the programs, even going door to door, meeting with community members, being out, putting out door hangers with resources for community, really meeting people where they are, and not always just relying on them to understand that these resources exist, but being engaged with community every day and being on the ground. So I definitely wanted to raise awareness of that. We were very excited about the August 31st neighborhood canvassing that took place. I was out sweating a little bit, walking up Natural Bridge, handing out door hangers to various small businesses and residents to raise awareness about the program. And it was great to hear the stories of many of these small businesses about some of the challenges, but the opportunities that exist in partnership with the city. And I think they were very excited to see the city engaged in being proactive with providing them information. So I just wanted to make sure that we highlighted that. The last item that I wanted to highlight in the open agenda director's report was the Peace Park program. I know we have Laura again here that can provide an overview of the Peace Park, but I know there's also a video in regards to that program as well. So Sarah, do you have that available?
I sure do.
And if we can move Laura Jen over as a speaker, that would be great.
St. Louis Development Corporation, the Land Reutilization Authority, several community organizations and residents joined forces to reimagine Peace Park.
This is a project of Green City Coalition, which is a formal partnership between City of St. Louis Development Corporation, LRA, Missouri Department of Conservation, which is our state fish and wildlife agency, where we work with neighborhoods to identify concentrations of vacant and abandoned properties and then convert them to new community green spaces that improve environmental and public health and increase access to nature for our residents.
Today's a celebration, breaking the bread to activate this space once again, just like Otis intended. Peace Park was founded by the late Otis Woodard Jr., who created this gathering space to share resources and community with his neighbors in College Hill, the only neighborhood without an official city park.
Today, we are at the groundbreaking for Peace Park, which is an entire block of vacant and abandoned properties that have been used by this neighborhood as a park for over 20 years. And so many partners, a lot of them present today, have been working for years to raise the funds, to get the privately owned vacant properties, and now we're ready to break ground. And for the rest of this year, we will build the vision that the city has made for Peace Park.
My bike to the alley back here, sidewalk. Back in the 70s, we came from Memphis, Tennessee, and early 80s, my dad acquired this property to do a Lutheran organization. We actually lived on this corner right here, 3.5-story home. My 4 other siblings, mom and dad.
Good evening. Thank you to everyone that came out tonight for Peace Park groundbreaking. I'm here with St. Louis Development Corporation, table over there, as a partner of Green City Coalition, who's working to develop this vision for Peace Park, as designed by residents over the last 5+ years.
I'm still taking it in as overwhelming in a good way. You know, to see how it's blossomed to this and growing to what it's going to be. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful park and a peace area for the community.
Now, decades later, Mr. Woodard's legacy lives on in the reimagined Peace Park, where everyone will be able to garden, exercise, play chess, enjoy concerts, and have family reunions in a community green space in the College Hill neighborhood.
From my vantage point as a real estate professional, assets, or more importantly, earth, is always an asset. It is about what you do with that earth and reactivating it.
Thank you so much again for that video presentation, Sarah.
Okay, I finally found what Bruce Rabbit tablet.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it just rolled to the next video.
Oh, that's okay.
Before I had a chance to turn it off.
Yeah, and I know Laura Jen is in the room. Laura, do you want to give a quick kind of overview of what Peace Park is and the plans for it as we continue to move forward?
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. This is one of 7 project sites under Green City Coalition, which is a partnership between the City of St. Louis, primarily Forestry Division and Parks Department and Planning, actually, St. Louis Development Corporation and LRA, the Missouri Department of Conservation, and Build Missouri Health, which is a subsidiary of Missouri Foundation for Health. This is partnership. The coalition was designed back in 2017. At this point, we're in 4 neighborhoods: College Hill, Wells Goodfellow, Walnut Park, and Baden. And as I mentioned, with 7 different sites, this is the most park-like. Some of them are pocket prairies or rain gardens, community orchards. Most of them addressing some sort of environmental need, like needing to absorb stormwater, or creating a community outdoor amenity that creates more access to nature for our residents. So this one was actually not an original GCC project site, but towards the beginning of the pandemic, the two lead organizations that were trying to pull this project together for residents kind of disbanded, and there wasn't a leader. So they had reached out to see if it could become one of the Green City project sites. So we kind of took stewardship in early 2020 and have been working to bring it into development since. We're estimating a little over $1 million, but so far we've raised almost 800,000 of that. And so, like the video mentions, we're breaking ground this year, and you'll see a lot of progress coming soon.
Awesome. Any questions or comments from the directors? Okay. Thank you, Laura, again for the update. I know you shared some exciting news with me yesterday, Laura, in regards to St. Louis being named for the convening for the Reclaiming Vacant Properties event. So do you want to give a quick update on some breaking news?
It's not public yet. It'll be announced in about a month. But St. Louis has been lobbying for this for a few years. If anyone's familiar with the Center for Community Progress, it's kind of the national think tank for vacant and abandoned properties in the country. They have a conference called Reclaiming Vacant Properties that happens every other year. And October 9th through 11th, 2024, it will be held in St. Louis. At the Hyatt Regency at the Arch. It usually pulls over 1,000 attendees, includes more than 30 talks and workshops and site visits. So that's a really exciting opportunity to highlight a lot of the property reuse and redevelopment projects that we have online.
Thank you so much, Laura. Again, we want to celebrate all the wins in St. Louis that we get. So very appreciative of your hard work and lobbying to put St. Louis at the top of that list. The next regular scheduled board meeting is being held on Thursday, October 19th, 2023. Again, the Mayor's Business Luncheon is being held on October 13th, 2023, and each of you are invited and have a special seat waiting for you as the Board of Directors in your various roles to supporting SLDC in our mission moving forward. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second, McBride.
Motion in a second. Alderwoman Spencer, did you have a question? I seen your hand pop up. Or you just said we were ready to adjourn?
No, I would be remiss not to mention, I know I sent you an email, Mr. Chair, but I wanted to, for this body to be aware and engaged in one of our city's largest buildings, the Railway Exchange, which has been a really, really problematic vacancy. And I'd like to see the St. Louis Development Corporation engage in some solutions to that over 1 million square foot of building, which is just being plundered and becoming extremely problematic. I think if that were to catch fire or to have something other negative happen to it, it would be absolutely devastating to our city, our downtown, and to, frankly, our region. It's such a centerpiece in our downtown community.
Yeah, Alderwoman Spencer, I definitely want to acknowledge those comments and remarks, and definitely plan to respond to that email that I received this morning. But Railway Exchange is definitely a huge asset for downtown. And it's something that we want to secure and ensure that we take all measures necessary at SLDC and our respective development boards in partnership with the building division, the Board of Aldermen, to address the concerns and the safety issues, but also to revitalize that building and that asset. We also have other assets downtown, as you know, the Millennium Hotel, the Railway Exchange, the AT&T Tower, that we're working to get back online. And we need to come up with solutions to do that, working in partnership with the private sector, as well as doing what we can from a development standpoint with our various boards to remove blight. And that's what LCRA's mission is. And we have been proactive in engaging with those various building owners, sending information over to those owners around needing a development plan in place and ensuring that they communicate effectively with the city on their plans. So we'll continue to follow up with you on that, as well as more publicly about the steps that we are taking in partnership with the public and private sector.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to mention it. Just for clarification, are we going into executive session? I know there were some items on the agenda.
I didn't have,
misunderstand.
yeah, I know we do not have any items for the
Okay.
executive session today.
Okay, thank you.
So I seen a motion, I heard a motion and a second to adjourn. So with that, we will adjourn this meeting, and I look forward to seeing you all next month on October the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.